I think people just need to get a little bit more creative in this industry. I think everyone's just doing the most generic thing. I think you just got to be creative, and less is more. When you put too much out there, I think it's just too much. You're just throwing out so much information that people don't know what to do. It's hard to digest. People like things that are quirky and fun or like a little risky. For example, like let's say you want to watch The Bachelor. Right before it plays, your ad can pop up saying, "Hey ladies, are you single? Have you thought about buying a house?" And then it'll go into the show.
You attach the ad to the show.
Yeah. Price to Sell commercial starring Matt Campoli.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Price to Sell podcast. Today we're going to dive deep into the world of marketing and advertising. And to help drop these golden nuggets, we have the owner of Adld, Mr. Nick Jongazma, in the building.
Attention span now is so low, especially with TikTok and Instagram and everything. So you want to make sure that colors are bold, text is right in your face. I see campaigns all over the city where, for example, real estate. There's a picture of a guy just crossed arms, showing his belt. You've lost my attention. But if you say, don't call me, for example, it's like, why is this guy telling me not to call him? Let me call him.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Price to Sell podcast. I am your host, Matthew Campoli. And while I have you at your peak focus, please like, subscribe, and share. And share this with anyone that you think would find value. Because today we're going to dive deep into the world of marketing and advertising, especially for you business people, entrepreneurs out there, realtors, whatever you do in the world of business, marketing and advertising is super important. So we're going to dissect what works and what doesn't work. We're going to get into who's getting it right and where we're getting it wrong. And to help drop these golden nuggets, we have the owner of Adld, Mr. Nick Jongazma, in the building. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, man.
Long overdue.
It is long overdue.
Thank you.
And him and his company are responsible for a lot of the billboard advertisements you see around the city.
We try.
But let's plug in Adld. Let's talk about what is Adld.
So Adld's a full service ad agency. We specialize in radio, TV, out of home ads, so the billboards, brand development, and social media. So this company's been around for 6 years. Myself, I've been doing this for well over a decade. I used to actually work at a radio station prior to that, Z103. And that's kind of how it all started. I used to sell radio advertising for about 4 or 5 years and then kind of shifted into this space 6 years ago. And it's been the greatest shift that I've made my whole life. And just been moving forward from there and just working with brands, businesses all over the world. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Were you ever on the mic and the radio?
I used to voice commercials for 25 radio stations, actually. Yeah.
Oh,
so I used to
nice.
hear commercials for like Hyundai and like Wonderland and all that stuff. I used to voice them. Yeah.
You were the Wonderland guy?
For a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I was doing like club ones at the time. So there was a lot, yeah. Music festivals. So I was the guy,
You have the radio voice.
A little bit. I got to push it a little bit to bring it out, but yeah, we can get it out, yeah.
Let's dive into Nick a little bit. So who is Nick? Like, how'd you end up into this space? Was this always a passion of yours, or what were you doing before?
So funny enough, I didn't want to go into this space at all.
Okay.
I was supposed to be a chef. That was my passion. Because my dad's a chef. I wanted to be a chef. Applied for school. And my dad's like, don't go into culinary arts. He's like, I didn't have a life, so don't do it. So I was crushed in grade 12. My whole life, I've been kind of gearing towards going into culinary. Applied for a program, was like 21 of the 20. So didn't get in, and then saw radio broadcasting was cool. And at the time I was DJing in high school. And when I applied for it, I'm like, okay, I'll do this for now until culinary opens up and I'll go into that space. Did radio broadcasting for about the first semester, ended up falling in love with it and wanted to go into just strictly being an on-air host. I saw Tony Monaco, I saw The Hammer. I'm like, these are the guys, like I want to be them. Talking to my profs in school, they're like, listen, it's going to be hard to get into a market that's so saturated. So you're going to have to start in a small market. Why don't you look into production or sales? At the time, my mentor, he's like, listen, sales I think would be the best way for you. Why don't you look into that? Took the sales course, ended up getting crazy high like marks in class and took advanced sales and realized, okay, you know what? I want to make money and sales is the route to go. So applied at a couple of radio stations to get internships and worked my way up into promo. And then eventually realized that, the promotion side wasn't making sense for me and I was making minimum wage. Applied for a sales position and my sales manager at the time said, you have no experience. Why should I hire you? I'm like, I think with the right guidance and all that, trying to bullshit them into hiring me, but it didn't work out. Came back in a couple months after and he said, listen, we have a seminar coming up. If you can secure X amount of people to the seminar, we'll look at maybe potentially hiring you. Started contacting everyone I knew, from the guys that used to tip my cars, wash my cars, wrap them, whatever they were. I called them, secured all these people to the seminar, and long story short, at the end of it, I think about 3 people closed from those seminars into this program.
What kind of seminar was it?
It was just a marketing seminar to get them to advertise for a year. They were trying to build these like reduced rates for advertising on the station.
I see.
So I ended up closing 3 of them. The last one, my manager and I went to the meeting. He said, the only reason I'm signing this is because of Nick. It's because of the relationship I have with him. Aside from that, I have no interest in advertising. Manager ended up pulling me aside. He's like, what do you think? Should I hire you? I'm like, it's up to you. And kind of the rest was history. Started on a Monday and I was there for about 4.5 years and youngest sales, person there, and won the Rookie Year Award like right after, and kind of worked my way from there with zero sales experience.
This is Z103.
Z103.
There you go. So you kind of got into that vision of yours.
And then obviously working with like the legends like Tony Monaco and the Matt and all those guys, the Hammer and all the big icons on the radio, and then shifting it into voicing and DJing at the same time. So I was doing a lot when I was there. Yeah. Going to pretty much all these events and festivals. And that's how my network kind of grew, was just connecting with people at, let's say, Veld Music Festival or Digital Dreams or whatever the case was. So these were all the main, I guess, components of my networking years, and kind of took that into now what I'm doing now. And just a lot of the people that I met before were in different industries and spaces, and now they're in different sort of industries and starting new ventures or whatnot, and kind of just brought them into Adld world and what I'm doing now.
Nice.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
Can we hear this radio voice?
What do you want me to say?
Price to Sell commercial.
Price to Sell commercial starring Matt Campoli. Ding.
That was it.
Yeah.
I'd listen. I'd tune in after hearing that commercial.
I've had people tell me I have a really nice voice.
You do.
But I don't know. We'll see. I think it's just a regular voice. Nothing crazy.
I think it's pretty good. But I think we all trip out. I think we just trip out about our voices. I think, yeah. I feel like, so now I'm used to hearing myself. But I remember my first time hearing myself, I'm like, I sound like that. I feel like everyone goes through that.
Yeah, when you hear it back first few times, you're just like, oh, it's kind of cringe.
Yeah.
But then like once you get used to it, it's like, okay, you know what? But then people say, oh, like your voice is like different. And it's like, I don't know. It just sounds like.
I get that too now.
Yeah.
I love your voice. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Your voice is soothing though. Like I can listen to you like, and this is going to sound a little weird. Like I listen to you going and falling asleep kind of thing. Like, you know, those like relaxed, calm, like, you know, it's one of those. Like,
if you ever need like a bedtime story, just let me know.
So I think it could work.
Yeah, just let me know.
Sure.
A lot of Robert Munch.
Love it.
Yeah, I can read you some Robert Munch.
I love Robert.
Well, let's dive into advertising now. So now, obviously, fast forward, you're running Adds World. You guys are doing all the things, which is awesome. And guys, check out Adds World. But I'd love to get into like the psychology of advertising.
Sure.
Having run, like, do you have a number as to like how many ads you guys have done across the board?
There's been a lot.
Okay. Probably something hard to calculate. It's hard to calculate.
I think I lost count a little bit. At first, when I was starting, I was counting everything, but then now like you're just a little too busy. I don't have time to count them, but I think it's in like in the thousands at least for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So having run so many ads, what do you think makes a good advertisement?
All depends on the industry. I think when it comes to advertising, there's two types of advertising. Are you advertising for sales or are you advertising for your brand? Are you trying to do a branding campaign or are you trying to do a campaign just to get sales? And I think that's the most important part. A lot of businesses and entrepreneurs and brands, they don't understand that. And that's kind of how you educate people right off the bat. Are you advertising this campaign? Are you doing this campaign at Dundas Square, for example, just for people to see you and get familiar with your brand? Or are you expecting that this one-day campaign is going to bring you hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales? So right off the bat, that's the most important part. Once you figure that out, then you can kind of see, okay, you know what? Is it worth doing a campaign for a sale for one day, or would I rather just, target it towards something else? So first off, sitting with a client, you want to make sure you explain to them, okay, these is the reasons why you're doing what, and making sure it makes sense. If their budget is not crazy and they're just planning on just dumping it for one thing that's not going to work, I won't take their money. It doesn't make sense. Like I'm not that kind of sales guy that makes sense to just do the sale for the sake of the sale. I'd rather them come back to me in 6-7 months and say, okay, you know what, I'm ready now. Let's do something now versus, okay, let's just do a Dundas Square campaign, just take their money and never see them again. So in terms of how advertising works, I think it's a little bit from the beginning. You got to make sure they're educated and know exactly what they're running. And then from there, guide them into, okay, you know what, it makes sense to go here, it makes sense to go there. Let's do this. Let's, maybe let's take a pause for now and let's revisit other things and then start to build your campaign up. So I think that's how it works to start off with, at least. Yeah.
And so to psychology now, what makes people want to call the number? What do we notice that has worked?
So for a billboard campaign, attention span now is so low, especially with TikTok and Instagram and everything. So you got to grab their attention real quick. And if you don't, you've lost them already. So you want to make sure that colors are bold, the text is right in your face. You want to make sure at least everything is visible. I see campaigns all over the city where the text is so small and you can't even see them, or it's just a picture of, let's say, for example, real estate. There's a picture of a guy just crossed arms, showing his belt. Like what is that? You've lost my attention. But if you say, don't call me, for example, and you put, let's say, your logo there. It's like, yo, why is this guy telling me not to call him? Let me call him.
Yeah.
Now you're intriguing them to like call you and figure out, okay, you know, what the reason is behind this campaign. I think people just need to get a little bit more creative in this industry. I think everyone's just doing the most generic thing. And even yourself, like, kudos to you. Like, shout outs to like what you do. Like, even the campaign, like the video you posted today, just holding that sign, that's literally your walking billboard. And that, I think, is more effective than half these guys, like their campaigns that they're running on the Gardner or the Dundas Square or whatever in the case they're doing. But I think you just got to be creative, and less is more.
Yes.
When you put too much out there, I think it's just too much, and you're just throwing out so much information that people don't know what to do. It's hard to digest, and attention span is so low. They're looking at a picture, they're driving. There's too much going on.
Exactly.
So I think less is more, and just, again, put out something that makes sense and is creative. And people like things that are quirky and fun or like a little risky. And I think that's typically what's been working really well for me in the past 6 years, is just doing things that are outside the box and just grabbing people's attention.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like, it's weird how that works with humans. Like, don't call me.
They're like, oh, call me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? Let's talk real estate industry for a second. What have you noticed that has worked? It's like with do's and don'ts, you would say.
Do's, I would say, again, less is more. Be fun with it. Try to stick with things that are trending. Don'ts is, don't post a picture of you crossing your arms with your Gucci belt and your Lamborghini and your dog saying, you know, buy from me. Like, nobody cares. Like, for example, I see one in the city. It says, I sell homes. No shit, like, you sell homes. I thought you sell, something else. Like, you don't need to push that hard. You can be a little bit more simple and just post things that grabs people's attention. When I'm driving on Yonge Street and I see all the billboards look the same, like, obviously, like, I'm not going to call any of you guys. But the ones that I see that say, don't call me, or the ones that say, you know what, I'm not interested in your sale or stuff like that. That's like, yo, who is this guy? Like, he's cool. Like, I want to work with him. Or like, even the stuff that you do that's not really billboards, I guess, but it's just stuff that, let's say you holding a sign, that can relate into a billboard. Like, these are all cool different campaigns that I think make sense, but I think everyone's so stuck on, I think, their image, and they don't want to veer too far away from their image, that they think that, okay, you know what, if I'm posting that, they're not going to take me seriously. It's like, a lot of people are not taking you seriously with you crossing your arms in a Lamborghini that you rented. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Why don't you be genuine in who you actually are and post something that people are going to like and relate to? People want to be related to. That's the other thing. If they can relate to you, let's say holding a sign saying, you know what, for example, the one you posted today saying, honk if you're homie. Honk if you're homie. Like, yo, that's funny. That's cool. Like, I like this guy. I want to work with him. And if they don't like you. It is what it is. Like, they might like you on something else. So I think people need to just not overthink these campaigns and just go with what it is. And that's what's going to essentially work. So
yeah, and you know, even in that video, we had the wrong your, and it worked.
Strategic.
Guys, just spell shit wrong. Okay?
It's okay.
We're human. Just not on your actual like agreements and legal stuff. There you want to be really.
We have autocorrect for that one.
We do. We're safe.
We're safe.
How much does a billboard cost?
It all ranges. Depends on location. It can start, let's say, $1,500 for a month, and it can go all the way to like $20,000 a month. So it just depends on location.
Does the locate? So do you guys notice? Do you have a way to track inbound traffic?
Yes.
So are those prime locations really pulling in more traffic?
Yes.
Okay.
Some locations are pulling more traffic, but you'd be surprised. There's certain locations that are actually less in cost, but just because they're not in the city, they're considered high traffic locations, but their pricing is not also that prime location. So anything in the core city is obviously more expensive because it's downtown core, but there's locations, let's say in Vaughan, that are high traffic locations, but they're cheaper than what it is in the city, and they get more circulation as well. So just case by case, it all depends.
Do you have like the best performing one?
I do. Yeah. There's a few in the city that do really well. There's one by Yorkdale actually that does amazing on that little turn. Everybody loves that board. There's a couple on Spadina that I used to have a client of mine used to advertise on. Loves that location as well. Dundas Square obviously is a top location, but
with the digital ones, right?
With the digital ones,
How do those do?
Those ones do well. Those ones are typically a lot of big brands do those ones, or just artists that are just looking to promote themselves. Right now, the best one to do in the city if you want high traffic, Gardner, because it's 2 lanes. You're getting way more circulation. People are stuck in their cars, so you're getting the same amount of price that you're paying before, but you're getting even more circulation than ever. So
for sure,
people are stuck. They have to look at you. So even if you post something stupid, like they're gonna have to look at you regardless. So
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I have to take you up on that.
Let me know. We're doing deals today.
I posted a little story. Run a campaign here.
Whatever.
And then based on your experience and what you've seen work for people and results, what do you think is a good budget to allocate? This for any business. Annually or monthly. Let's drop it to monthly.
It would all depend on the business. Some businesses, if they have multiple locations, obviously you got to multiply that by how many locations they have. But if you can, let's say if you're one restaurant in the city and there's a billboard close to you and you can afford to do that, I'd say if you can put together like, let's say 24, 25K a year, I think you're set for a cool campaign there. And in terms of billboards, doing a 1 month campaign, 2 month campaign is not going to work. I'll tell you straight up. And anyone who does do it 1 month, 2 months with me, I've told them not to do it, but they still are adamant on doing it. Minimum 3 months is what I'd recommend. Okay. And it's not me selling them to close the deal. It's because you want to be able to see some sort of traction.
For sure.
1 month, by the time it goes up and comes down, no one's going to remember who you are.
Yeah, it's true.
At least 3 months, it's going to take people to get familiarized with who you are and what this guy is and what their campaign is, who are they, and let me get more accustomed with who this brand is. So
yeah.
I think that's the most important part, and obviously educating them and letting them know what makes sense. Some businesses can allocate certain budgets, but some can't, and maybe some budgets don't make sense. If they even have $24,000 to spend, but it doesn't make sense based on location, you want to educate them to let them know, okay, maybe it's better to put at least half of this dollar into, let's say, social or digital, and put this rest into, let's say, a bus ad or radio ads or TV or whatever the case may be. So
that's good. At least you help strategize with them.
Yeah, no, for sure. You have to strategize. Yeah, that's the most important part. If you have a client, because keep in mind they don't know what this industry is. It's new for them. So, and a lot of businesses, especially the older ones, they never believed in advertising. So now trying to educate them to understand what this way of new trends are and all this. So what me selling a billboard is not a new thing. It's been around for years, but I'm trying to revive it and make it sexy again to explain to people, okay, you know what, you can do traditional ads. You don't necessarily just need to run Facebook, Instagram, TikTok ads. You can go into traditional and kind of sync them in with the digital component as well. So it's funny, actually, there's a client of mine who just recently said that we're cutting back on our digital ads because we're seeing it's not working. So we're going more to the traditional route. So they're spending a lot on TV, radio, and billboards this year. So it just all depends. It's case by case, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of segues into my next point. I wanted to go into modern marketing versus old school marketing. Like what's absolutely dead and what's really working. So let's start with traditional stuff. What is dead?
Dead, and this is, people are going to get upset. I think print's dead. I think like newspapers are dead.
Okay.
I think the ones that
I guessed that myself.
Yeah. I think newspapers are what's like just they croak. They're done.
Yeah.
The only people that are spending money is these big brands that they obviously just have to just for the sake of doing it. But I think everything is now online based. I'm a radio guy, so I don't think radio's died down. I think it's shifted in certain aspects. But people can argue with me all the time saying, no, radio's dead. And I'll argue right back because the record came into play, radio was around. Tape came into play, radio was around. CDs came into play, radio was around. Streaming came around, radio's still around. Radio's the one thing in your car that's free. You're not paying for it. You have to pay for XM. You have to pay for Apple Music. You have to pay for Spotify. Radio will forever be free, and it's always there. I just think they need to shift with the times, and now they're offering digital components to their stations and all that. But I think radio's still alive. I think they've obviously lost a lot of their revenue just because of, let's say, Instagram and TikTok and all that. I think TV as well, it's still going strong. A lot of brands are spending money on TV. And it's more the different demos. Like our demo, I don't think is really watching TV. They're really streaming.
Yeah.
But again, even streaming ads now is a thing. So I think in some way or another, it comes back in a way, but it's just in a new revived way. I think out of home, the billboard side and anything digital, all this static and the traditional stuff is shifting into digital. In the next 5-10 years, I think most of it's going to be all digital because that's the way to go. But again, the industry's still around, but it's just shifted in a new way. So.
Yeah, and like real estate, for example. So there's a traditional method of building business called farming.
Yes.
And part of farming includes like you pick an area on a pocket and you farm it. So a lot of that has to do with your signs on the bus shelter signs, your signs on the local billboards. People are getting your flyers weekly, your newsletters. You're doing events, things like that. Very, very traditional, but it works.
You got to build community.
Yeah, it is community building. So do you think, methods like that? For example, mailers, people getting letters in the mail all the time. Do you think that stuff will stay around, still be effective?
It's a hit or miss. Like I know me personally, when I get in the mail, I don't read it because they're not interesting. It's just all copy and paste.
Yeah.
But if I see something that actually grabs my attention,
Like,
or if I see like,
what's an example? Are you working with clients? Or you guys done some campaigns where it's
in terms of mailers, I don't do them. I don't really, I'll try to send it to someone else, but I've seen a couple where it only grabbed my attention because it was just funny. They made a mistake on their spelling and their website was like, when you don't buy a full website and you're kind of using a platform, it's like Squarespace dot.
Yeah.
So Squarespace dot whatever. And I'm just like, really, like that's what you put on your mailer. But it was just more of a funny thing than an actual effective thing. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think people are going to be mailing out anything, to be honest. And I don't know if you recently saw the stats about Canada Post, how they're trying to make it in 1 every 3 days that they're doing deliveries because there's such a decline in I guess.
Interesting.
So there's tons of these things that are going to happen, and I don't think that whole mailing route's going to go around. I think it's going to be all digital. They might just send you emails and just say this is what's going on. But I think the farming the area is the most important, like doing a billboard or bus shelters or these seats that they put their ads on. I don't recommend the garbage bins with the ads at all. Like that's completely a waste. I don't ever want to associate your brand with garbage.
Fair.
But some people they associate it with, and I'll never sell it to a client. I would never recommend it, no matter how cheap it is. It's $100 for the month. But
the ad could say we aren't garbage.
See, that would work. But everyone else posts saying we're the luxury real estate. This
on a garbage can,
and the garbage is open. So
we aren't garbage. I promise.
If you do something cool like that, it makes sense. But when you're posting a picture of you again with your whole team on a garbage bin, how can I take you seriously? And the top of the garbage is open too because they're changing the bin.
True. So to replace these mail outs and stuff like that through ads, how effective is like
That's what
online geo-targeting?
So I think geofencing would be the next, obviously, best route to go.
And how does that work?
And it depends on, obviously, which platforms you want. You can geofence with certain websites. There's companies that have platforms.
So what is geofencing?
So, for example, you want to run an ad in, let's say, this little pocket that we're in. So the vicinity is going to be, let's say, all the way to, for example, Spadina and Dufferin. From Spadina to Dufferin, you're going to see, if you're in that pocket on certain websites, certain platforms, you're going to see an ad that pops up. And obviously, if you're interested in certain things that you're trying to target, you're going to start to see that these things are going to populate up for you on, let's say, Instagram, Facebook, CTV's website, CityLine, all these different platforms, depending on how you're geofencing it. Now, it's very similar to doing mailouts with postal codes, but it's in the online world now.
Cool.
So cool. It's definitely cool. It's just obviously how you put it together and what platforms you're going to be using. There's tons of companies that do it, whether it's with Instagram, whether it's with Facebook, Twitter. There's companies that do it even with like traditional websites. So they have these websites that you can run ads on and they'll geofence it. Like Rogers does it, Bell does it. And these are obviously things that we offer to our clients as well. And they see that it works, and you can do streaming where it's like, okay, before, let's say you even get access to, let's say, listening to or streaming on their website to see a show, your ad will pop up and it says, Matt Campoli is selling this house, whatever. So you can definitely do cool things like that.
Streaming.
Yeah.
Like Netflix?
Yeah, no, well, Netflix is bringing ads. They actually brought it out. But for example, you want to do...
They don't have ads. Prime does.
Yes.
So like on a platform like Prime.
You can do Prime, yeah. But it's only Prime that does it, like you haven't bought the premium subscription.
Okay.
And even then, like I think there's like loopholes on like how you can run it. But for example, like let's say you want to watch The Bachelor on like CTV or City News or whatever it is, the platform is. Right before it plays, your ad can pop up saying, "Hey, ladies, are you single? Have you thought about buying a house? Well, why don't I help you as a bachelorette get into a condo?" Whatever. You can make something cool about it, and then it'll go into the show. So you can run different cool things. But I just think people are not, again, educated enough to know that this actually exists. Like you can do cool stuff.
You can do specific to the show.
Yeah.
And you attach the ad to the show.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can do that.
We have to talk.
Like you can be topless, literally on a beach,
I won't do that.
saying, "Hey, ladies, are you thinking about buying a condo?" And she's whatever, she's watching the show, whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I know you're thinking about it right now." She's like, "Well, yeah, maybe I am. Listen, call me." And then it goes into your logo, and then it goes straight to the show.
Yeah.
And you can do that. And you can do the same thing geared for men. You can do it all different. And there's obviously this like a list of platforms. There's GQ, there's like CityLine, there's TSN, there's tons. There's tons of them you can do. So
I might get canceled for that one. So maybe not The Bachelor. Maybe
The Bachelorette.
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
That's what we do.
That's it.
That's really cool. So if I am, for example, using if I'm in a certain postal code that you're geofencing, I'm target market in that postal code, I'm on Instagram.
You'll pop up.
Okay.
You'll pop up on...
And can you so when you set up the geofence, are you choosing the platform?
So it depends, again, who you're using with. Now, for example, Rogers has one where they have access to all their own websites, and I think they have third parties as well. You get access to all those different parties. So there's different companies. There's ones that just strictly geofence on apps. So if you're on an app in a specific area, you'll pop up. There's ones that have access to other websites. So it's all case by case. There's so many of them now, and they all have unique partners and exclusive ones that you can use and piggyback off of, but that's the best way to go about, yeah.
And what does a geofence campaign typically range?
It depends on the CPM. It depends on what, I guess, that cost per point is per the platform. Some might range in like the $50, $60 CPMs, which is like crazy amounts of money, but it just, again, all depends on what platforms you're running. So you can run campaigns for, let's say, 10 grand a month, or you can run campaigns for like 80 grand a month. So it just all depends.
Less as well?
You can. I wouldn't say it's effective, depending on how many platforms you're trying to hit, but
Fair.
You could definitely run it.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I mean, it makes sense. Like even the printouts are costly, man.
Yeah.
And again, speaking for real estate, because that's what I do, mailing to like thousands and thousands of homes, it's up there.
For sure.
So
you have to pay for print. You have to then drop it off at Canada Post. They got to charge whatever the percentage is per postal code. So it adds up.
yeah. Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
And just to give some costs for a radio ad, what's a radio ad range?
It all depends on the station. Again, you can get ads starting at, let's say, $60 a spot. You can get ads that cost you $450 a spot. So it just all depends on the station. Like 680 News is obviously in the more higher ranges. So just with the listenership and the demo, but then versus like a local smaller station, like let's say York University's radio station might be way less than $100. So
Yeah.
it just all depends on the station.
And then how about for TV? What are those ads range?
TV, again, just all ranges. It's just all per like item that you're looking at getting. So like a small little banner ad versus like a big banner ad. So minimum, I'd say at least it starts at, let's say, 15 to 2 G's a week. And then they go all the way up. So it's all cost per point. That's why when people say, oh, do you have like a pamphlet you can send me with pricing? It's like, doesn't exist. Everything's customized.
True.
So if you tell me you want to run this campaign with this kind of, I don't know, listenership, it's obviously going to be different price than someone who wants to run something completely different. So it's all customized. Everything we build is customized. There's no set package that we send out. Every single time I get a quote or a request that I have to send out, it's all customized. So it's me putting it all together specifically for
Next
them.
touch.
Yeah.
Next touch. And okay, let's quickly jump into brands. Where are people getting it right and where are they getting it wrong in regards to advertising their brand, marketing their brand properly?
I think in terms of brand, when everything's in sync and they have a message and they obviously have a community that they've built, I think is the key. But when people just build brands just for the sake of building a brand, they have a logo and everything's just all over the place. There's no sync and, I guess, syndication with everything else. I think that's where it's not doing the greatest. I love it when I see that a brand's website and their social and their business card and their emails are all the same and it kind of just fits the color schemes and the fonts and everything is just structured and they have that, again, syndication all over all their platforms. I think that's what's the greatest. And I think that's what makes people remember you and you stand out compared to your competitors. And just making sure you have all the fundamentals. Make sure your logo's there, your color schemes are there, your fonts are there. And if anything does change, you make sure you're updating. You don't want to make sure your website has something that's old on it still versus your Instagram has something new. And staying on brand. Like me personally, my Instagram page, everything's obviously yellow because that's my color scheme. And when I show love to people commenting, I always comment with a yellow heart. Because that's just kind of how it is. I've never commented with a red heart ever in the past 6 years. You can go fact check me on this, but I've never commented on it with a red heart. And that's just what it is. Everyone always remembers Ads World with a yellow heart because that's just what we do. We're always yellow. So making sure that you're on brand and just stick with it, whether it's t-shirts yellow with a black writing or vice versa. So these are the things that people remember and it just makes you stand out. And that's what people remember. Like Apple, for example. You remember that Apple logo all the time. So the same thing with whatever brand you're building. Make sure that people are going to be able to remember that in the long term. Don't just use text. Text is not a logo. Text is just text. Add a little touch to it. Add a little house to it. Add a little like a brick to it or whatever. If you're in real estate or if you're in the restaurant industry and you got a pizza restaurant, put a logo together that has like a slice in it or a pepperoni or cheese or something. Don't just put a text and call it the pizza spot. It's not really a logo.
Yes.
So
fair. I like it. And because a lot of my audience are realtors, let's pick them apart.
sure,
Let's pick apart the real estate industry for a bit.
let's do it.
Because marketing is huge for us.
Yeah.
Advertising is huge for us. We need to do it to get clients, right? There's like the old school, like cold calling, stuff like that, which, no problem. But popular methods now are like Facebook ads, online ads, all to then get phone numbers, to then be able to call people. Obviously, social media, billboards, stuff like that. So where do you think realtors are getting it right? And then where are they absolutely failing?
I think the ones that have the websites, the Google listing pages, the Instagrams, the logos, the business cards, the flyers, the billboards, the Instagram content, the TikTok content. I think those are the ones that are doing great. I think the issues that we have is the ones that think, and keep in mind that are doing this consistently, not just 1-2 months and they fall off.
Yeah.
I think the issues we have are the ones that, sure, they don't think billboards work. They think they should just put all their eggs in one basket. They think, oh, you know what, Instagram's going to make me close deals and everyone's going to know about me. Keep in mind, there's thousands of real estate agents. They're all doing the same thing. Certain ones are doing more unique, cool things, but if you're just going to think that that model is going to close you deals and they're going to forget about everyone else and they're going to remember you, it's not going to work. Also the message and going back to branding and their creative, I think if they can put together a creative that actually has value and makes sense, I think that's what's important. A lot of realtors just post for the sake of posting. Nobody cares about stats. You sitting behind like a green screen just talking about stats all day. Nobody cares at all. Like the attention span is so low that the second I see that, I'm swiping. But if you grab them saying, listen, you can buy a house for $1, you got my attention. But then go into like, okay, why, like how kind of thing.
Hooks.
Exactly. You want to make sure you have hooks in place. And I think that's where a lot of realtors don't understand. And I think it's just educating yourself. Like when you first started, your content was not the same as it is now.
No.
It's completely different. So you've obviously learned, you trialed and erred.
Yes.
And you saw what works. And I think that's also a key thing. Is you put out content, you see what works. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, try a new trend. And I think a lot of realtors are all over the place. They're posting things. They're trying too hard a little bit, I think. They see, let's say you post something, they'll try to go and copy the exact same thing, but then they'll make it even worse than, they could have done it. And then they're like, well, he did it. Why can't I do it? It's like, well, maybe he did it because he's good at this. Why don't you try doing something else because you're better at that?
Yep.
I think everyone tries to just copy each other and they need to just be innovative and just come up with their own style and structure.
Yeah, I think we get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Even a lot of agents I talk to, like, well, how do you make your videos? I said, it doesn't matter how I make it. Do you want to make those types of videos?
I think they get too consumed with social media too.
It's true.
I think they're too consumed about, followers and like, did they message me? Who gives a fuck about that? Why don't you just go and cold call and put your brand out there and the rest will come. If you have showings, then you can have content to show. But if you have no showing and you're just thinking about what am I going to post, so obviously you have no content.
Yes.
You're just posting green screens of like interest rates and stats.
Well, I think that's like a general thing because I'm fresh reading Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves.
Yep.
And there was a part at the end of the book where he mentions like 5 things that will absolutely cripple you.
Yeah. One
of them is really focusing on the competition, like caring too much about the competition. It'll cripple you in your business, right? So I'm like, it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. Is like and seeing, oh, this guy's doing better, this girl's doing better, this girl's more followers, blah blah blah, and then you end up taking no action because of that, and it causes anxiety and all these things, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So if you can learn how to just like block it out,
tunnel vision,
focus on what you're good at, and just be consistent at it. I think that's it. That's the juice right there.
I think, again, going back to what you're saying, I think competition definitely will cripple you. I think if you're too focused on, how many houses they're selling, well, there's someone that's maybe looking up to you because of what you're doing. So there's always that domino effect of like, okay, well, you might think that I'm doing better, but there's someone that I think is doing better. So it's the same thing. I also think that they just need to just be different. Don't keep posting the same stuff. Like when interest rates drop, I know exactly what time all the realtors are going to post. Like I know within that 1 minute, they're all going to make a video. It's like, okay, I seen it. Like, why don't you make it different? Why don't you not talk about it and talk about it in a different way? Why don't you go do something cool where it's like interest rates drop? Okay, no problem. Let me go quickly write it on a sign. Let me hold it up and take a picture saying interest rates drop. That would be cool because it's like, this guy's like on it. Like he's on the ball versus just making a video saying, hey guys, did you know today the interest rates have stayed at the same? Well, this means this. It's the perfect time to buy. Why don't you call me?
Yeah. You know what, guys? This is good. This has been good. Good nuggets. Because Nick works with a ton of people in many different spaces. He sees what works. He sees what doesn't. That's what he does for a living. So take what he's saying here with value.
Don't be offended. Okay.
And
I'm just trying to help.
It's fine.
Okay.
Don't be offended.
Don't call me. I'll call you. That's it.
But awesome, man. You've been great.
I appreciate it.
Some golden nuggets. Any last piece of advice maybe you want to share?
Advertise. Don't be cheap. Advertise. You got to spend money to make money. And if you're thinking that you're going to save all this cash and you're going to go do other things with it, sure, but build your business. Don't just save it because you think you're saving it. Spend money, build your brand, advertise, promote it, have fun with it.
I love it.
That's my piece of advice.
Just plug in Adld, plug in you. Where can they find you? Follow you guys.
My personals, it's Nick Ara. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Adld. Obviously, you can find all over Adld.ca.
Ads with a Z, by the way.
With a Z, yes. We do everything from A to Z.
There you go.
So that's what we do, and anywhere in the world, not just Canada, not just the States, anywhere in the world we can do advertising. So that's us. That's what we do.
I wouldn't mind a billboard in like
Dubai,
Italy.
Yeah,
in my hometown.
We can do one right on the coast.
Just like, hey, my parents are born here. This is me. Hi.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that won't work probably.
You might find a wife at that point, I think, with that kind of,
A wife finder billboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that. We can definitely do that. 100%.
Not bad.
We can do one in Miami with going on the water. You know those ones, the boards on the water? Yes. We can definitely do one.
Okay.
Just you waving, saying, hi, ladies, I'm single. We can do that.
Do you do the airplane ones too?
I'm working on something. Well, in the States, yes, but I'm working on something in Toronto, yeah.
Oh, that'd be...
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on something.
Shoddy.
Yeah.
Shoddy. Here you first.
I'll tell you off air, but yeah, I have a cool idea with that, yeah.
Don't call Nick about that. Call him about everything else.
Yeah, don't call me about that one yet. No.
But to everyone out there, you guys rock. Thanks for always tuning in. Hope you guys found a lot of value in this because it's crucial. Whatever business you're in, advertising, super important. Knowing how to market yourself, super important. And putting your brand out there for proper exposure, super important in order to grow. So if you found value, share this with someone you also think might find value in this. And please don't forget, like, subscribe, share, show us some support, show us some love. Drop some comments below on what you guys thought. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.